out here?
It's fine by me.
Come on. We made a hell of a team out there on the streets. Imagine what we'd be like in the sack.
Get your boys armed and out.
When this DLC was announced, a couple months ago, that's probably what a lot of us were thinking. She was great in the game as a supporting character and we enjoyed the powers. How is this going to play out when you get to control her? Granted, he said it a bit creepier than I would have, but, that's really what was on all of our minds. What's it going to be like to be Fetch? And I gotta say, it's not a bad experience by any stretch of the imagination. But the question is, does this justify its existence as a standalone story? Does it justify its existence as DLC? Um, I gotta say that I'm on the fence here. The gameplay is every bit as much as Second Son was, as far as you have that freedom, and Fetch's powers, is, in terms of the neon, are different from the ones you have as Delson, so it doesn't feel like more of the same. The neon powers were by far my favorite in the original game, especially due to the dash functionality. Um, so there's certainly a lot of potential here. My issue is with the storytelling, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but to say the least, that this is a prequel. This predates the actual campaign of Infamous Second Son, so we have a pretty good idea, if you've played the original game, where this character is going to end up. There's not a whole lot of surprises they could throw at you. At least from the outset of the story as it begins here, you kind of know, at least you think you know, where the story is going to end up. And it gets off to a very slow start. And although well done, it doesn't seem necessary, to be perfectly honest with you. Um, it's fun. It's a good diversion, but I'm struggling to keep my attention focused long enough to finish the campaign. I gotta be honest. What does intrigue me about this game is that it does take the point structure and changes how those points are achieved. It gives you specific challenges for points. You can earn more points by dealing with robot arenas, which are nicely integrated into the story. I was actually very impressed with that idea. So it's well done. It's just a question of, like I keep saying, is this justified? I can't really say that it is. Not for 15 bucks. 10 bucks maybe, 8 bucks for sure. I don't get the impression that I'm going to be playing this long enough for it to be worth the amount of money I spent on it. Um, I'm not saying I regret the purchase, but I am saying that I'm just not quite sure what this is trying to be, if anything, other than just another excuse to play, Seattle again. And, I look at the whole of the city of Seattle, and in terms of how much space I have to maneuver, at least at any given time, because in the full game, you have to go to great lengths to get from space to space, and arguably they're sequestered cleverly to where you're never going to be able to just go anywhere you want without there being something going on the back end. Destiny, even in the beta, the open territories there are not only just as big, if not bigger, but they're more complex. There's a lot more to go in and around within that environment, and they're very, very complex. Um, so the complaint I always hear is that Infamous kind of fails as a sandbox game. And I would venture to say that that's probably true, but I would also venture to say that it's not really designed to be a sandbox game per se. Um, I think it's a open action game that has a sandbox style environment. So I don't really think it's fair of me or anyone else to compare this to Grand Theft Auto 5 or Destiny or anything else that is more or less open world on some level, or is designed from the ground up to have more of the open world functionality. This is more of a, not linear, but there's definitely a lot more traditional elements here than, newer generation sandbox. And I don't think it was ever sold to be the latter. It was always sold as the former. So I would say that this DLC in First Light definitely improves on motivating the character to move around the sandbox. You can take these little races, which at first I didn't think I'd like, but the more I do them, the more I do like them. And they're very short little jaunts through those little neon rings that enable you to upgrade your powers that much faster, which is also an improvement from the campaign. So, I mean, this is definitely more of the same experience without being, it's not retreading anything, but I would have liked to have seen more varied environments, specifically being that this is meant as a standalone story. The fact that she's in Seattle doesn't make a lot of sense to me because of the fact that, you know, she was getting driven out there in the original story. Spoilers. So I'm not sure that the story makes a lot of sense, but the game itself does deliver. My only gripe with this game is that, you know, for the price point that it offers at $15, I don't think that it delivers that amount of game. I haven't finished the story yet, so I don't know if that's a fair statement. But again, with me not feeling compelled to complete the story with any immediacy, you know, I think that's a flaw too. So if we're on a scale of 10, I'm going to say this is a solid 6 or 7. Nothing bad to say beyond the fact that it was expected, with a couple minor surprises in terms of the mechanics and gameplay, but it just didn't. It's not ruffling my feathers, and I hope that more play of the game will, you know, prove that wrong. But I don't see any evidence that it will. So definitely worth a play. Definitely gets a higher score at a lower price. $10 or less, this is definitely an 8 because it doesn't overstay its welcome from what I can see, and it's definitely worthwhile for that amount. But 15 bucks seems a bit steep for the experience that you get. So wait for this puppy to go on sale, and then check it out without any hesitation. That's my review. Infamous First Light as a standalone or DLC, good, but not $15 of good. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and as always, keep on grinding. Cheers, guys. Thanks for watching.